My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. The 1965 Broadway musical, On a Clear Day You Can See Forever, featured lyrics composed by Alan J. Lerner. That song described the fictional experience of a clairvoyant woman, but our guest tonight has lived it virtually every day of her life. Cyd, spelled C-Y-D, is recognized as one of the most accomplished and talented psychic profilers and clairvoyants of our time. Her gifted capabilities have been sought out around the world. It all began in July 1992. Cyd had a vision that would change her life forever. A vivid, moment-to-moment pictorial depicting a brutal murder. She later discovered that her startling visualization proved to be a horrifying reality. And since then, Cyd has provided information to top law enforcement agencies, assisting in the solving of the most puzzling of crimes. Having been tested with the FBI, her precision speaks for itself with a decisive 98.7% accuracy. Cyd is a recurring on-air celebrity for numerous syndicated radio and television programs, including Catherine Crier Live, CNN, WB2, and both CBS and FOX have featured Cyd on special reports. Cyd's commitment to humanity is simple. Her goal is to allow every individual to reach his or her greatest and fullest potential. To aid in this effort, Cyd facilitates workshops and seminars covering a wide variety of topics in the metaphysical realm. As a teacher to thousands worldwide, Cyd provides a variety of courses both in person, online, and live streaming. And tonight, her lovely waves grace our airwaves. Her website is cydscircle.com. Please welcome Cyd. Good evening, Cyd.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, Victor. Thank you.
And it is our pleasure and privilege to have you with us. So, Cyd, what was it like growing up as a clairvoyant?
Oh my gosh, it was just crazy. It was crazy. When I was born, because I've had my intuition and my gift since I've been alive, by the time I was 3 and 4 years old, I was looking around at people and thinking they should know these things. They should see these things. And I had to learn that people didn't see life the way I saw life. I didn't realize that people didn't have the insight and the unveiling of spirit and knowledge and inspiration and of our person, our beingness and stuff. So they couldn't see auras, they couldn't see spirit, they couldn't see, the dead or anything. And so I had to learn, growing up as I got a little bit older, that people did not have that gift. So once I recognized that, I thought, wow, I'm different, even though I knew that it was okay to be different and to be this way. But I thought, oh my gosh, how do I help them? How do I help these people become and see the things that I see? And I had no idea at all that they couldn't. So it was very interesting trying to help them,
Now, I know in talking to many other folks who grew up clairvoyant and psychic, that their family and friends sometimes either didn't believe them or reacted in strange ways and often were off-put by the abilities. How did your friends and family react?
It's very complicated. Some people would just ignore me and go, oh, yeah, well, that's just it, no big deal, and they would just poo-poo it. My mother would be a person, I would say, there's these 4 dead guys that are talking to me in my closet, and they are not letting me sleep. We're talking and talking and talking and talking all night long, and Mom, I need sleep. And she'd say, honey, go to bed. You don't see anybody. I'm like, really? You can't see them in there? So my mom would argue with me. My dad, on the other hand, the father that adopted me when I was 5 years old, I actually got sent home from school my first day of kindergarten because my kindergarten teacher said, okay, you need to come pick up your daughter because we have a problem with your daughter. And he said, well, what has she done? And she says, well, she stands up on top of the table and she's telling everybody about their life and she won't sit down and she's trying to help everybody and teach everybody. And he said, so is she accurate or was she incorrect at what she said?
Great question.
No, she's very correct at what she said. And he said, why? What did she tell you? And she said, well, that my husband was cheating on me with, his secretary. I'm kindergartner and you need to divorce him. And so he said, so was she correct? Was she accurate? And the teacher said, well, yes. As a matter of fact, this last week I found, out that my husband was cheating on me with his secretary at work. He said, so what's the problem? I don't understand. So what's the problem? And she said, well, it's my school. I'm the teacher. She can't be the teacher. And he said, but she was accurate and I can't teach her how to not be who she is. And if you want me to take her into another classroom, I can put her in another classroom. She's like, no, can you just tell her to sit down and listen to what I have to say being a kindergartner? And he's like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I've had so many different reactions. Some people look at me and say, you know what, Sid, you don't know what you're talking about. I've had officers, there's a police officer in New York. I was on a triple homicide up there, and he hires me to do the homicide, and we're in a very small room, and there's 4 different officers there, and I'm telling him all the information that I see. And he literally came across the table at me to put his hand on my throat to choke me. He's like, I want to know who said this and who's the rat in my station that told you all this. I'm like, sir, first of all, don't touch me. Second of all, you're the only person I've ever spoke to about this. And he said, but no one knows this information. And I said, I do, because I'm the psychic profiler that you just hired. Hence, I know things that you guys don't even know. So just sit down. I'll give you a lot of information and everything will be okay. So I've never really thought about people's reactions to me, because they've been so dramatic in all kinds of walks in life and different ways, because it's their fear, how they view things, or they embrace things. Like, oh my gosh, you talk to God every day, and can I touch you? Can I hold you? Can I just talk to you for 2 seconds? So it's really about the people.
Yeah.
It's not about what I'm doing, but it's all those other people's reactions. It's where they're at. So, there's individuals that are clairvoyant or psychic or intuitive or healers or anything that are out there. Don't base who you are on what society believes.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Great advice.
We're here to teach people what we know. Christ was crucified, for God's sake, So it depends on how people are going to respond to you. So speak to where they're listening from. Speak to how they're going to embrace you the best way for their learning, for their abilities. Don't go try to teach calculus to kindergartners.
Yep.
Don't try to teach them what you know. Try to teach them what they need to know. So when you embrace what they need to know, they're going to respond in a better way.
Absolutely. And to that end, how would you describe your work and your purpose in life?
Interesting question and a wonderful question. Thank you very much for the question. I at a very young age watched people be so afraid and so much pain and so much hurt inside of themselves. And I always had this knowledge, this internal knowingness about me that everything was going to be okay. And I knew that when I started thinking about it as I got older, that I knew everything was going to be okay because of God's grace upon me, that universal knowledge, that universal wisdom, and that everyone had that. So in my world, in my work, and the things that I want to help people with is to give them that essence of it's all okay. You're okay. You might have some flaws and some cracks, and we'll take those flaws, we'll take those cracks, and without judgment, we're going to mend them. Or they're there for a reason. But there's beauty behind it, and there's truth behind it, and there's this infinite love that's behind it. We go through things that are so hard for us so that we can have a sense of peace at the end. So my job and my life and my commitment to humanity, even with crimes, horrible crimes. I'm bringing dead children home to their parents, for God's sake. Horrible, horrible things. Or somebody that had a heartache. A boyfriend broke up with him, or their child died, or God only knows what these people go through. I always want to tell them, we're going to get through this. And at the end of what we go through, you're going to have an understanding. You're going to have a truth about yourself that is going to clarify for you the beauty behind this lesson, the beauty behind this tragedy. And when people are in a tragic situation, I can't say that to them. I can't look at them and go, you know what? Your tragic situation is going to be beautiful at the end. But I can tell them at the time, let me love you and let me help you. Let me have understanding for you so I can give it to you so you can have understanding and peace within your soul. So when I can give that information, that God's information to them. I've watched people in the most significant, horrific events ever, and they can look at me and their whole body calms. They go into this place of peace and they're like, thank you, I have understanding. Understanding means peace. It means truth. It means clarity. So my world is about giving you God's understanding of your life, God's understanding of the situation, the circumstances, and what's really happening. And when you have that, you will walk away very peaceful. Your body will just calm. And I have that. I was born that way, so I want to impart it and to give it to people in any way that I possibly can.
And we'll be back with more of Sid's wisdom and warmth after these brief messages on Destination Unlimited.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Older buildings may contain asbestos and lead. Pipe or other insulation, ceiling tiles, exterior siding, roof shingles, and sprayed-on soundproofing may contain asbestos. Disturbing materials containing lead-based paint may release lead dust into the air. If your home contains asbestos or lead-based paint, and any of these materials have been damaged or will be disturbed during cleanup, talk to public health authorities. From the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
And back on Destination Unlimited with our wonderful guest, Sid. Sid, you said that the power of being psychic is the ability to listen to God's Word, universal information, and earthly information. Please explain your process.
When I read for somebody or when I tap into that universal information, instead of reading the person, a lot of psychics read the person, what they're projecting, what they want, what their emotions are, what their dreams are, what their desires are, what their fears are. I look at that instantly, and then I go above that. I go to a higher God source that gives me the truth. It gives me the karmic contract, the Akashic records. It gives me what they view you in your life, what you're going to do, what you're going to receive, how you're going to be. So I can go from, I know you want this, but this is what's really going to happen because this is your best thing. So it's very simple for me to look at somebody and say, oh, I know that you want that guy, but you're not going to have him. You're going to have somebody else. You're going to have this person or et cetera, whatever circumstance it is.
Now, for those of our listeners who don't know or not familiar, the Akashic Records is something that Edgar Cayce was famous for reading. Please explain what the Akashic Records are.
If people do not know, before we get to Earth, before we become human, we go with our guides and our mastership, which is our God source, all of the spiritual beings there, and we design what we're going to, what we're going to do for our life. Who we're going to be born to, our parents, how many children we're going to have, how many times we're going to be married, what our destiny and our karmic contract is. We sign that before we get here. And so people believe that they have a lot of free will. Free will comes into, and I understand everybody's going to get upset when I say this, everybody's like, I have free will, I can make my decision. Well, we do have free will once we've completed our karmic contract. Karmic contract means an obligation. You must do this. You must fulfill your destiny. Free will has to do with the choices that you made before you got here. And once your karmic contract has been resolved, then you have choice in your life. And free will comes into that choice. Our karmic contract and our Akashic records will give us our complete destiny. It's like a handprint of who you are, what we're going to do, who we're going to be from the day we're born till the day we die, and then after.
And how do you help your clients recognize the difference between what their soul has established as a karmic contract and they're getting past that and operating their life in a different way?
You know, one of the hardest things I ever do.
Yeah.
I can always tell them, this is your destiny, this is what's going to happen. And people have argument. It's so funny. They argue what they've signed. They argue, you know, their free will, and they argue their desires. You know, they want to have control over things. And I say, go ahead, have control if that's what you think you want to do. But you and God made the decision anyway. So it's your highest good. So why do you argue it? Why don't you just go with what you already designed? Because it's your best opportunity. People don't like conflict. They don't like pain, and they argue it. But what happens in life, and it's just the reality of it, when we go through painful circumstances, we learn so much. It's character building about us. God isn't punishing us. God isn't doing something bad to us. We don't have to endure huge suffering. We choose it. If you choose suffering, you're going to continue to suffer. If you choose to have a beautiful life every day of your life, I know people that have horrible circumstances, and their attitude is, my life is great. My life is so good. So it really means your thought process, your soul's willingness to be powerful. It's character building. Please be happy. In the worst circumstances, you can be sad about stuff. You can hurt about things, but you have to have a good visual and knowledge about who you are and what your purpose is here, what you want to do. Go be powerful out there. Go be loving. And every time you can possibly love, do it. You will be more happy.
Absolutely. One of the great examples in the work that I've done with couples recognizing karmic contract is people who go into a first marriage. And the whole purpose of that marriage, really based on karmic contract, is to bring a child into this world. And that child obviously has special purpose and special gifts that they're bringing with them. And that once that relationship has fulfilled in the fact that the child is brought into this world, that relationship really doesn't have any substance anymore. And many people end their first marriages that way and divorce and go on to find other partners who are more fulfilling in terms of their life. Do you see that example a lot?
All the time, especially in my own life. Yes. That as soon as I had my son, my first husband and only husband. I had my son, and the day I had my son, I looked at my husband like, I have no idea why I'm with you. I fell completely in love with my son, and then I had a second son and ended up divorcing my husband. I see so many people that it's that karmic destiny, as you say, to bear our children, to have these souls that need to come to us, that want to help us and want to be with us, that we're here to provide for them and to give to them and to love them, and or completely get rid of them. You know, it depends on the people. But it's amazing how babies come into our life to justify the action of marriage.
Absolutely.
That we must have been married to this person, and it was so important to be married to them. It doesn't mean we have to stay with them or be in love with them for the rest of their life. It's a karmic contract. Sometimes you have your child and you go, this is over. I'm done. Other people, it's funny because you can literally just feel that way. Other people, those soulmates, everybody gets really confused about soulmates. Soulmates, so everyone understands, they come into your life in an instant, and you have a karmic destiny that will take place, and then it ends just as fast as it starts. It can be all lifetime. It can be 2 minutes. It can be 20 years. It can be 4 years. But once that thing is that you needed to learn with that soulmate, it's finished.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's nothing left. You just keep going on into other lifetimes. So in retrospect of what you're saying when it comes to relationships and true love forever, true love comes when we have more wisdom. True love comes when we truly know ourselves, when we're not necessarily in that karmic contract, when we can say, I have a blank canvas and I'm going to choose to love fully.
Yep.
And I want somebody to love the way I love and what it means to love like that.
Absolutely.
Very powerful.
I had a wonderful spiritual teacher, and I attended an organization known as the New Seminary of New York in the 90s. And he taught us an ancient Hebrew expression, hakol beseda. Now, the literal translation of that is everything is unfolding in divine order, or it's God's will. And he said, some people, how's your life? It's God's will. It is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. And I'm not really, I'm not happy, but it's God's will. And he said that's the wrong interpretation. He said you should raise your hands and exclaim, Hakol Beseda, everything's happening according to this divine plan. Things are wonderful, and people don't recognize that. And maybe it's because they look at these small snippets of life that might not have been pleasurable, that might have been painful, that it might have been very hard for them. But that if you look at the overall picture of life, everything is unfolding according to that divine plan.
I love that people say God did this or God did that to me or God blessed me with this or God, condemned me to that. I always watch them. It's a relationship. God and we are in the same relationship. We have the same power. When we unite ourselves with that divine energy, the only thing we choose to do is to bless ourselves for giving to God, giving of our life's energy to the Divine Spirit. It's not what the Divine Spirit is giving to us. It's how may I serve you? How may I help? How do you want me to live my day by your word, your wisdom, your thought, your beingness? Please give me your thoughts. Give me your will. And so it's a congruent relationship, like a marriage. How can I be more for my husband today? How can I be a better mother? How can I serve my children? How can I serve my husband? How can I be more for my wife? It's the same thing. Instead of what is God giving me? What is my husband giving me? What are my children doing for me today?
Absolutely.
It should never be a thought for you.
Absolutely.
It should always be, how can I be more?
And to that extent, you say that you believe that living is a privilege and that it's truly an honor to be alive and to be human. That being alive means having the opportunity to experience everything in life. Now, what advice do you have for people who are sad, are loaded down with the burdens of modern living? How can they learn to celebrate life?
You know, I'm going to say something that most people aren't going to like. The days and times that I have been on my face down on the ground, barely able to function or stand or do anything but cry because my whole world is coming to an end, you should kiss that ground and you should be thankful every day that you can breathe and you can live through that experience. Because at the end of that day, or the end of the next day, or the end of the next day, or 20 years from now, if you don't feel pity for yourself, you don't feel all bad about what you've chosen and what you've done and how the world isn't going to help you. If you take a stand and say, I'm going to breathe today and I'm going to give more. What do I have to offer? Instead of feeling sorry for yourself, what do I have to offer? Everybody out there has something special. I've seen horrific events. I've been through horrific events. And at the darkest day, you should thank every part of you to say, this is a learning experience. This is a building experience. It hurts so bad, and I'm so alive. And I thank you for that.
The wonderful wisdom of our wonderful guest, Sid. Sid, please tell our listeners how they can find out more about you and your work.
Sid at Sid Circle is my email address. So sidcircle.com. It's CYDS. circle.com. You can find all the information that you need out there. My phone number is 928-899-4728. I welcome all of you. I just want to help everybody out there, you know, whether you believe in what I do or not. My job and my life and my passion is to help you understand love and to live the best life that you can ever live.
And we'll be back with more of Sid after these words on Destination Unlimited on the OMTimes Radio Network.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Are you in an interfaith relationship and thinking of getting married? For 18 years, Reverend Laurie Sue Brockway has been creating personalized, loving, and romantic ceremonies for couples of all faiths and cultural backgrounds. Reverend Laurie Sue's sensitivity to the needs of interfaith couples is reflected in the compassionate and inclusive way she addresses the concerns of parents and families. Reverend Laurie Sue is also the author of several best-selling books on interfaith weddings and wedding vows. Selected as one of the top interfaith officiants by New York Magazine, Reverend Laurie Sue serves couples in the New York metropolitan area and beyond. Find out more at her website, yourinterfaithwedding.com. And we're back with Destination Unlimited. I'm Victor the Voice Furman. My guest tonight is Sid. Sid, we all want to be in love and to be loved. Yet your first love should always be yourself, shouldn't it?
You know, I've learned a lot about that, and I think that the first love should be God. You know, I think if we have an in-love passion about our divine source and why we're here, then all we have is love upon ourselves. So learning to love ourselves means acceptance of ourselves. instead of judgment upon ourselves. We talk about, we're beautiful, or we're tall, or we're skinny, or we're this, or we're that, or we have something to offer and something to give. People look at me and say, Sid, it's so amazing because you have this grand purpose. My purpose has lots of burdens that go with it. It's a lot of responsibility. And it's my honor to do so because I love from a place of myself, in honor of myself, because of the work that I do to serve God and to serve humanity and to serve the people. I've worked many lifetimes to become who I am. And so I recognize, and everybody out there should recognize their gift. It might not be like mine. It isn't like others, and it shouldn't be. It should be yours. Maybe you are a great painter. Maybe you just have really great communication skills. You can hug a person and say, oh my gosh, you're the best person ever. It doesn't matter what it is. But when you can find that value within yourself, we automatically find that we can start loving ourselves. We can love other people instead of wanting it and needing it and hoping for it. We say, I have something to offer. When people fall in love, it's an interesting thing. Victor, when we talk about relationships and stuff, and I teach people in relationship courses, why is everybody so excited about being in love? And it's not because, if you really listen to yourself, it's not because you're receiving something. It's because it ignites a power within inside of us that we want to offer. We want to give. We all of a sudden want to bring the lady flowers. We all of a sudden want to make a man this card. We want to say how much I love you. We want to kiss. We want to touch. We want to hold. We want to put ourselves out there. It's not being in love because we're receiving love. It's being in love because we're offering, we're giving. And when we're in love with God, in love, and this isn't religious. It really is the divine source that's within us. I am not a religious person. But when we find that love within inside of ourselves, all we have is love for others. We love ourselves. We love you. We're like, oh, I love you. Maybe your behavior's bad, but I still love you. Okay, I can have bad behavior or not. But it's the ability to find in love, which is the passion to give.
Now, if love comes from that divine source, which is so deep within all of us, why do so many people have trouble tapping into it for themselves?
They're afraid, and it's scary. And I'll give you an example of something that's funny. My son came to me. He was probably 5, 6 years old. He's crying. And I said, baby, what's wrong? And he comes to me and he says, Mama, I love you so much. It hurts so bad. I said, oh, baby, come here. I love you that much, too. Come here. Let me hug you. Let me touch you. Let me hold you. And when we feel love that big, when we allow ourselves to love that huge, our bodies weep. Our bodies feel nothing but this pure energy of light that comes within us. And we cry. And we weep. When people say, I cry tears of joy, it isn't tears of pain. It's because it envelops in our system and in our soul and in our heart so big, all we can do is cry about it. And then people get afraid instantly. If I love that much, what if this person doesn't love me like that? Our minds and our ego get immediately into the circumstance of the situation. And what I've found is that if you just love that much, it doesn't matter whether somebody loves you back. Like, I just have to love you. I just love you so much, and I just have to keep loving you. Like my son, he wasn't afraid to tell me. He was just in so much love that it had to come out of him. Yeah. And so when we can have the innocence to say, I just have to love you, no matter what. There's a country song. And I don't know if anybody does country or not, but in the past month or so, there's a country song by Eric Church is his name. And the song is 3-Year-Old is the name of the song. And he's talking about his son, and his son says, what I learned from this is you can say I love you all day long. And most men, wouldn't even think of that. Most people wouldn't think of saying, I love you all day long. And this little 3-year-old says, love you all day long. So it gives you permission to love. And when we give other people permission to love by doing it ourselves, people will continue to love us back. They'll give themselves permission to continue to love. It's a beautiful thing. Open it up instead of being so afraid. See what happens, and you'll get all kinds of love that you never thought you'd ever expect.
We could have peace on the entire planet if everyone would do that to one another.
Right?
Absolutely.
So simple.
It really is so simple.
Yeah.
Now, you've talked about the concept of heaven and earth becoming as one and no longer existing as two separate states. Talk a little bit more about that, please.
One of the things that I learned about being human is that I don't do it really well.
I don't think many of us do.
I fail at being human daily, all the time. And I tell our friends, oh my gosh, I'm not any good at being human because there's all these rules and regulations and all these things that everybody is supposed to be and whatnot, and I'm not any good at it. And I can't even do math well, okay? So if you ask times tables, I go, I don't know, ask somebody else. So I don't do human well. But what I do know is that if you tap into the essence of the truth that's inside of you, and you take a few minutes or moments or just a breath, there's an essence inside of you that knows the truth, that knows goodness and knows the wrong thing to do. And if you can live by that moment, if you can actually say, I'm not afraid, and I'm going to just be, I'm going to experience, I'm just going to be what I have to be right now. We were just talking about love. I love you. Let me tell you I love you. If you just don't feel good about something, you go, I can't do that. It just doesn't feel right in my heart and in my soul. Not in my mind, just not in my heart and my soul. What happens is that you start living more and more and more from that truth, from that universal knowledge. So heaven gives you truth, no matter what. It's raw truth. And there is no information other than the truth. And it's so raw and it's so truthful that it can cut you like a knife. Absolutely. It can also embrace you at every being that you've ever been afraid or hurt. It can love you to the core of you that you will never hurt again. So when you can tap into that and take just a piece of it, not necessarily the whole thing, because you don't have to be divine. We're all divine. But you don't have to be the holiness of the Dalai Lama. I mean, he's incredible. But you don't have to walk in that. You just have to share little bits of that heaven and little bits of that truth. And all of a sudden, you're taking heaven down to earth. And you might not do earthly being well, like I don't do being human well. But by gosh, I know how to love, and I know how to share, and I know how to express what the truth is in a gentle form so that people can love more freely themselves and others.
And you talk about living a purposeful life, and in order to have that purposeful life, you have to live from your authentic self. Please share the concepts with our listeners.
It's kind of, this is the part of being human that doesn't go well. When I was I was very young, and I learned really quickly I don't do human well. So the only thing that I really learned how to do is to be my spiritual essence of myself. Because I tried to fit into everything else. I tried to fit in. The girls are wearing white blouses and skirts. I'm like, I don't like skirts. And that doesn't look good on me, So I learned to argue at a very young age. When my mom would say, Sid, you must do this. And I'd say, no, that doesn't fit me at all. The core being, that knowledge that's down deep inside of us, we have to live by it. So I'll give you an example. There's a little girl. You're on your front porch. There's a little girl walking up the street, and she's got bright green hair. And she's got a yellow purse, and she has a pink blouse on and a purple skirt, and she's got bright red high heels on. She's probably 7. And she comes walking up, click, 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 click. And she goes, don't you love my green hair? What are you going to say to this little girl? No, your green hair is horrible. You look at her, and I would say, I love your green hair. That's the best green hair I've ever seen. She goes, I know. And she flips her hair, and she click, 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 click down the driveway and walks on. The whole energy about her, because she owned that green hair, you fall in love with her in 2 seconds.
Yep.
You're like, oh, my gosh, look how powerful you are, because you don't even know it looks horrible. Because you love it so much, I love it too. So the first thing is that because she's inviting you to love her green hair, that she's being real with herself. She's saying, I have green hair. It's the best. Like Avatar, the people are blue. Okay? So they're saying, but look at my blue skin. It's awesome. By doing that, everybody else embraces who they are around you, and immediately they'll go, I love her green hair. I wish I had the guts to do that. So by being yourself, your true self, your authentic self, the thing that works for you, not for everybody else, you blossom, you shine. People immediately are attracted to you. They love you. I am one of the most unique people out there. I don't fit into crowds. I don't fit in with the mass of the people. And it's because I don't fit in that I have to say, look, I don't fit in there. So I have to be me. Me being me brings everything for you to be you. It's
Absolutely. And just by doing that, you're leading a purposeful life.
Correct.
So beautiful and so simple. Our wonderful guest, Sid. And we'll be back with more of Sid on Destination Unlimited after these brief messages.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the Internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is Josh Groban. My favorite thing about music is its ability to inspire and nourish the soul. That's why I'm proud to work with Feeding America, an organization that inspires hope for families in need and helps nourish the 16 million kids in this country struggling with hunger. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gathers surplus food and helps get it to kids in need. But they can't do it alone. Find out how you can help at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
You're listening to OTR FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
And we're back on Destination Unlimited. My guest this evening is Sid. And as we mentioned at the beginning, Sid has used her gifts to help the FBI, the CBI, and other law enforcement agencies solve difficult cases. Sid, share a couple of those with us, please.
You know, it was definitely a different time in my life, and I ended up getting into law enforcement. It was kind of a crazy thing. I was invited to my cousin's 4th of July party, and I just moved back to Colorado, and she said, "Hey, Sid, come up. You know, there's a 4th of July party. We're having a barbecue." I said, "Great." Didn't know anybody. Got there, and we were singing. a song. We were recording it and singing a song to send to her mother because I hadn't seen her mother in so many years, and so we were just going to record it. And I looked down, and there's a newspaper article about a woman that was missing. And a couple of days earlier, I'd seen on the TV that there was a missing person, and I just thought, oh, that woman's dead. So I turned off the TV and I went on about my day and didn't really think about it. But when I looked at that newspaper article, I saw the face of this woman that was disappeared. And me being clairvoyant, I tap in instantly to things. So I don't usually watch the news. I don't watch a lot of TV and stuff because I don't want to know what's going on. And so I was telling my girlfriend, because we're being recorded at the time, I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is what her husband did. He stabbed her. This is what he did with the body, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take 1.5 years for them to, be able to find her body, but he's going to lead the investigation. So I'm saying all this stuff. And I didn't even realize that I was being recorded at the time, because I'm in a psychic moment. I'm not thinking about it. So freaked my cousin out, ruined the party, down on the party, like, okay, I gotta go, sorry. So I left, and 3 days later, Denver PD shows up at my door and says, so, how do you know this information? I'm like, who are you people, and why are you here? Well, my cousin, love her soul, sent that recording to the Denver Police Department. Apparently the people that were at the party, the reason she was having the party is for the lady that worked at Ball Industries that was missing. There was a police officer that was her husband. He was in charge of the murder investigation, and they found out 1.5 years later, after he had been put in jail, he had cancer, and he said, I killed my wife, and this is the body, which was not even 1/4 mile from where I said her body was going to be located. So from there, it was really a big problem because when they knocked on my door, they said, so you're the number one suspect. And I said, no, I don't know this person. They're like, well, you have, criminal information about all the details of her murder. And I said, well, I'm kind of psychic. So it went from me being psychic as a suspect to me being cleared because obviously I didn't have anything to do with it. And FBI, CIA, and stuff decided that they wanted to test me because it was a federal investigation. I've never worked for, just so people understand this, I don't work for police agencies. I work in association with them. I've never been hired by a police agency ever. So they call me when big cases happen. Chandra Levy, Elizabeth Smart, Lacey Peterson, Jean-Benet Ramsey, number of different major profile cases I have been involved with, and tell the officers, this is what you need to do, this is who killed this person, this is what happened, and then their job is to solve the murders or to lead the investigation. I just assist them in that. I said with Jean-Benet Ramsey that mother did it, or dad did it, mother covered it up, and that she would die a number of years later from cancer. And I found out, like 5 or 6 years later, she died of ovarian cancer, which is, So my accuracy is 100% when it comes to the missing persons cases and the homicides that I've ever done. I was on Elizabeth Smart, and officer called me immediately, said, so we have a missing girl. I said, yeah, she's 20 minutes from the house. Dark-haired guy, blah, 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 described the perpetrator, walked out, with her own 2 feet, her sister's in the room. She's fine. She's alive. She's going to get pregnant. She'll come back, So when I say stuff like that, I can do it on the radio, or I can do it live on TV, like Catherine Crier Live, everything is in the media, so everybody wants to know information. And, of course, I'm accurate, and then, the cases have to lead themselves to the cases of how they do it. Sometimes missing persons, we can't recover a body. Sometimes we can't recover, like the O.J. Simpson case. Nothing's ever going to be resolved with it, whether people think that he did it or didn't. The evidence does not apply to, the actual case. So, unfortunately, law officers have to deal with evidence factors for the court, and sometimes we just don't get enough. It just doesn't go well. So
now, do these cases, are they a fulfillment of your karmic contract to help these families and people?
Interesting question. I've never been asked that. Victor, thank you. When I got into this lifetime, I used to tell my mom by the time I'm, 5, 6 years old, I have to help thousands and thousands of people, and I really need to help them. And because of not necessarily wrongdoings in my past life, because, it's not about right or wrong. It's about helping humanity. And I had a sadness within inside of myself when I got here on Earth that my body wept and cried for the pain and the misjustice of what has happened to children or to people, and the horrible things that we do as humans. And so I put myself into a position of trying to help. What I found out in that is, in all honesty, and excuse me because I'm on the radio, it's never a good day bringing a dead child home.
Yeah.
It brings the worst thing that could have ever happened to these parents. I have to say, yes, it did. And I'm going to bring your child home, but your nightmare is real. So once I was finished with that, once I felt completely clear about who I needed to help and why, I made a decision for my own self of saying, I'm not helping and serving in the way I need to. I want to stand in front of 2,000 people or 2 million people, teach them goodness, teach them love, teach them the beauty of life, not the horrific part of life and the hardships of life. Yes, we have that too, but let me educate you on the beauty and live from that place. So I made a decision a number of years ago to not do this in my career. I've also made a commitment that if there is anybody out there that have missing children or they've dealt with a death or something like that, I have people that I can refer you to. So I don't just leave you out there. I have other people that are in that karmic contract that want to continue to help, and I'd be happy to, give you to somebody else. I personally won't do it, but I'd be happy to send you to somebody that can help you.
Now, one of the things that you teach and actively teach is miraculous thinking. How can miraculous thinking benefit us in everyday life?
Limited thinking gives you limited life. People, when you think limited, all you get is limited. When you can, it's so interesting. Just a simple dynamic. If you can clear your mind, like literally clear your mind without your thoughts, without your personality, and allow spirit to come into your mind. Sometimes you call it meditation. Sometimes, for me, it's not meditation. It's just a state of being. Take that instant, that 2-second, that 3 minutes, or whatever it is of that beauty, and listen to it and believe it and act upon it. When you have a limited thinking, your life is going to be limited. When you have limitless thinking, all you have is a limitless life. You can do anything. You can be anything that you want to be, but we still have karma. We still have our design of who we are, but we can be so good at our design. We can't go be I'm not going to go be Einstein. He was Einstein.
Yep.
Okay? So we're not saying go be somebody else. We're saying be the most. Be the most you can possibly be, because it's all at your disposal. It's the universal wealth of information, knowledge, and beauty out there. Tap into it. Learn it. Go do it.
And miracles themselves, do we really create them from within? Some might say they're a combination of preparation, meeting opportunity, a stroke of good luck, or serendipity. But what do you think is the source of miracles?
What I have learned, if everybody can just take a second and visualize themselves walking on a path, and let's say it's a stone path, okay? And there's trees to your right and there's trees to your left, and you're walking down it, and all of a sudden you look down and there's a light, and you grab that light and you hold it, and as you walk through this path, you shine your light upon those trees or down onto the path, and there's flowers. And as you shine your light going to the left or to the front or to the back or to the right of you, wherever it is, all of a sudden beauty starts happening. You see more beauty. You see more alive. You see wonderful, wonderful creation. And as you keep shining your light on it, all of a sudden more and more beauty happens. So it's the same essence. You're the one creating the light. The light just didn't appear. If you take your light within inside of yourself and shine it upon anything, it becomes beautiful. So when we have miracles, the flowers are still out there. The trees are still out there. But until you shine your light upon them, they don't come alive. They're just there, waiting for you to ignite their beauty, to ignite their color. But they stand in the dark, waiting until you do something about it. So it's your job to create your miracles in your life. It's not God's job to create miracles. God has already created everything you need. Again, it's a relationship. You have to do your part. God did his part. Do your part. Miracles come from within. When you think something, it happens. You think bad thoughts, bad things happen. You think good thoughts, good things happen. And I'm not just saying, okay, I'm gonna baloney my way to, thinking really positive about my life because my life is really horrible right now. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the essence of beauty stays within inside of you. That miracle resides in you. Create it in a powerful way, and your life will change.
Inspiring words from our wonderful guest, Sid. Sid, please tell our listeners one more time how they can find out more about you and your amazing work.
Thank you so much for having me again. It is such an honor, Victor. Anybody that's interested in the work that I do or the information, the help that I can provide for you, Sid's Circle, CYD is how you spell my name, CYDS circle.com. Again, my name is Sid. 928-899-4728 is my personal cell phone. You can reach me at any time.
And Sid, thank you so much for gracing us with your wisdom tonight. And this is Victor the Voice Furman. This is Destination Unlimited, and we'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us, and have a great evening.